Our first page today is on visual representations of percents. Basically, what do percents look like in picture form? Question number 1 shows us some figures that have equal parts in each one. So using the number of pieces shaded, we have to come up with a percent. So if 1 out of 2 pieces is shaded, that equals 50%. If 1 out of 4 pieces is shaded, that is 25%. Question 2 asks us to shade 50% of a rectangle, and we know that 50% is half. So if we have a shape that has 4 pieces, how many of them do I need to shade in? I need to shade in 2 of them. So I can take my pen and color in 2 pieces. For question 3, we have to write different expressions for the shaded area. So if we look at this box, we have 4 shaded pieces out of 20. So to write that as a fraction, it would look like 4 out of 20. Then to make that a fraction out of 100, I would need to multiply by 5, which would give me a numerator of 20. My next step is to turn this into a decimal. So 20 hundredths is the same thing as 0.20. Then to turn this into a percent, it would equal 20%. Question 4 asks us to write the percents that are equivalent to the fraction. So if we have 0/10, that is equal to 0%. If we have 2/5, that is equal to 40%, because 2 out of 5 is the same thing as 40 out of 100. So if you need to do that math first, that's fine. And then you'll complete the rest of the percents. I don't know if my ruler is going to show up on the recording, but if I'm looking at measuring this line segment, my ruler goes there's 1, 2, 3, and a quarter. So I'm going to go that much farther too. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 and a quarter places so that I'm measuring the other 50% of the line segment. Question 6 asks us to estimate the percent of the line segment to the left of the mark. So the left of the mark would be from the 0% to the X. Now, if we're looking at this, we can think, is it about half? Is it about 3/4? Or is it about 2/3? And maybe I'll draw my 2/3 in a slightly different way. It looks like it's about 2/3, which would be about 66 or 67%. So that could be your estimate. And it's okay if these aren't exact. Now, the last questions are word problems. So number 7, 8, and 9. I might talk to you a little bit about number 7, but other than that, I'm going to ask you to solve the word problems on your own. So if we have in 7 20 meters squared of a 50 meters squared field used for growing potatoes, what fraction and percent of the field is shaded? We have to think about how our fractions are a part over a whole. So the part of the field would be the 20 meters squared, whereas the whole field is 50 meters squared. So then you could use those numbers to turn it into a percentage. Our second page is on comparing fractions, decimals, and percents. The first question asks you to fill in a chart, and we'll just do the first couple of rows. They'll tell you either the fraction, the decimal, or the percent, and you have to fill in the rest of the information. So 1/4 is equal to what decimal? It's equal to 0.25 because we know that this is like 25 out of 100. Then to turn the decimal into a percent, that would give us 25%. Now, if they give us just the decimal to start with, we could start with either piece of information. It would be 35%. Then to figure out what it would be as a fraction, we can use this as our numerator. And to figure out the denominator, we need to see how many places there are to know how many zeros we need. So we'd put 100 on the bottom. Now, if you wanted to put it in lowest terms, you can, but it doesn't specify that you need to. To figure out 3 out of 20 as a decimal, I need to figure out what it would be out of 100. So 3/20 equal would give us 15 out of 100. Then we can turn this into a decimal, which would be 0.15. And then to write this as a percent, we just move the decimal over 2 places, so it would be 15%. If we looked at the 6 out of 15, we might have to come up with a couple different options to find our decimal. We can't get from 15 straight to 100, so we're going to make a smaller fraction first. So I can divide both 6 and 15 by 3, which would give me 2 out of 5. Then I could get 2 out of 5 to become a fraction out of 100 by multiplying by 20. So I know I'm jumping over lots of space here, but 2 times 20 would give us 40. And so then our decimal would be 0.40, which is the same thing as 40%. Question 2 asks us to write greater than, less than, or equal to between each pair of numbers. They say to first change the numbers to a pair of decimal fractions with the same denominator. So decimal fractions means out of 10, 100, or 1,000, a power of 10, and the same denominator means we need the same thing. So to walk us through what happened first, we had 1/2 and 47%. 47% automatically turns into 47 out of 100. So to get from 1/2 to 100, we multiplied by 50. We're going to try question B together. So 53% as a fraction. It's 53 out of 100, which means we need to turn our 1/2 into a fraction out of 100. So I would need to multiply it by 50, which would give me a fraction of 50 out of 100. Then I can copy down my 53 out of 100, and I can see that the bigger fraction is on the right-hand side. So I'm going to make sure that my Pac-Man mouth or alligator mouth is opening to eat the bigger number. We're going to do one more example together. So if we had 1/4 and 23%, it's easiest to start by turning our percent into a fraction. So 23% is 23 out of 100, which means I need to make 1/4 into a fraction out of 100 as well. To do that, I need to multiply by 5 times 25, do the same thing to the top and the bottom, and that gives me 1 times 25 is 25. And then I can see, okay, 25 is bigger than 23, so my symbol needs to go to eat the one on the left. Okay, question 3 asks us to change the numbers in each set to a decimal and then order them from least to greatest. So 3/5 as a decimal would be 0.60 or 0.6, because 3/5 is the same thing as 6/10. which is 60 hundredths. So we could have 0.60 or 0.6. 42% would be the same as 0.42, and 0.73 is already a decimal. So if they ask me to go from least to greatest, the first number I need to put is 0.42, and then 0.60, and finally 0.73. So we just have to read the instructions carefully. I'm going to let you try 4 on your own because it's a word problem, but these will be our only 2 pages for today.